Help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content. There's a lot of speculation about Sam Darnold's projected availability this offseason. He's hitting the market as an unrestricted free agent. Now, it's very possible that the Minnesota Vikings decide to lock him up long term before he ever hits the market, and this whole Sam Darnold hidden free agency thing becomes a nothing burger, right? And let's kind of indulge in that reality. Some people are asking, if that's the case, well, then what happens of JJ McCarthy? Now, for those of you who do not remember, JJ McCarthy was a top 10 pick last year. He was selected to the Minnesota Vikings, and he was selected to be their quarterback of the future. He's about 21 years old right now as of recording this video. And before Vikings camp started, it was actually right before their joint practice with the Cleveland Browns, he had an injury that took him out for the whole year. So if they extend Sam Darnold, would that make JJ McCarthy expendable? And if he is expendable, what would the price be for him? And is that a price that the Browns should be interested in? This right here, to me, is the biggest catch-22 in the entire offseason. Because theoretically, would I be interested in JJ McCarthy? Yes. But if the Vikings are interested in giving up JJ McCarthy, that would seriously make me hesitant about going after him. You know what I mean? Like, what do they know if they're willing to give up on a dude they drafted in the top 10 who's 21 years old because Sam Darnold had a hot year? And no disrespect to Sam Darnold, he's doing great things. He's put up great numbers, and the Vikings are going to be competing to be the 1 seed. They're going to have a fantastic record either way. I'm just saying, if one season was all it took for you to be like, nah, man, we don't even need you anymore, JJ McCarthy, something's up. Either something's up with that knee injury, or something's up with his progression as a quarterback, or something, right? And that's the difficult spot I find myself in with JJ, is I think people are automatically assuming, oh, you get Sam Darnold to an extension, that's going to be expensive, you have to get rid of JJ. You don't got to get rid of JJ. The Vikings are in a fine cap situation, paying Sam Darnold $45 million on what's going to likely be a team-friendly cap organization. It's not that big of a deal. They already have Justin Jefferson signed under contract. They got that money accounted for. There's no need for them to do this, which is why if they wanted to do this, I would be suspicious, because they have all the incentive in the world to just say, all right, well, we'll let JJ sit behind Sam Darnold for like a year or two. And then if JJ's ready, by the time we're done with all this guaranteed money in Sam's deal, we'll just start JJ. I don't see the need for them to give him up. So it feels like if they would be willing to give him up, it's because they know they're giving up a lemon. I would be suspicious about that. I can see how you could be attracted to that idea. And hope is a hell of a drug. And what the Vikings would be selling you is a quarterback prospect who would probably be the top quarterback prospect in this year's draft, in JJ McCarthy. And they're selling you hope. But you have to stop and ask the question, why are they willing to sell me hope when they need it to? Right? That's where I get a little bit suspicious about the JJ McCarthy thing and why I call it a catch-22 or the biggest catch-22 of the offseason. Because, yeah, you know, if there was a way to get JJ on the Browns without me being completely suspicious of why the Vikings would have to do it, I might be interested in doing it. But every single scenario that allows them to give him up feels suspicious. But hey, maybe they just think Sam Darnold's that good, or maybe Sam Darnold demands that JJ gets out of there, right? Like he's a diva about it or something like that. And he don't want the competition. But I don't think Sam's in that kind of a position here. So I just don't know why the Vikings would do that, right? Like it feels like that would be a setup to get robbed. That's what my spidey sense tells me about that scenario. But I was looking at some of these quarterbacks that the Browns going to be going after, and I was asking myself this question, like, how attractive are these names to people? Malik Willis is a name that's been thrown out there. Now, he was somebody who was projected to go in the first round in 2022. Real toolsy guy, athletic, super strong arm, played at Liberty, was really not highly sought after, but like he was the apple of a lot of people in the draft community's eye as far as that quarterback class goes. I'm always suspicious of guys who are the apple of the eyes of bad quarterback classes because you're just going to naturally hype them up a little bit further than what they need to be. But Malik Willis was a pretty special runner of the football, a pretty special athlete, and had a pretty good arm strength, right? If you're interested in somebody like Cam Ward because of the tools, Malik Willis has similar tools to what Cam Ward has. Did not have the experience putting those tools into practice as much as Cam Ward did in the games, but the tools are very similar, right? So that might be somebody you want to go after. He played in Green Bay, showed a little bit of something in 2 games, but we've seen quarterbacks look pretty decent in 2 games and then unravel once you play them more. So I would be really hesitant about how deep you go in there. My question is, if you go after Malik Willis, is that the guy that you bring in to compete with Deshaun Watson, or do you bring in another veteran to compete with them both? Or does Deshaun Watson just not even compete and it's Malik Willis and a veteran competing? Because like if in a scenario like this, if you bring in Malik Willis and you bring in Justin Fields, okay, cool. I'm good with that. Like, okay, if Malik Willis wins that competition, awesome. If he doesn't, okay. Like I could live with the results of that. But if it's like Malik Willis and DTR and Deshaun Watson battling it out, I don't feel great about that one. Right. I've heard people bring up Sam Howell. This would be a funny one for me because like Sam Howell kind of like looks and tries to play a little bit like Baker Mayfield. I think Will Greer is another one that like has a similar build to Baker. But this would be the ultimate baby comeback pick for the Browns fan base is Sam Howell, because like Sam Howell's game is ultimately like, hey man, we got Baker Mayfield at home, right? Like generic Baker Mayfield is Sam Howell. So you could go after Sam Howell. That would be a hilarious experience to go through. Let's see what other names have popped up. We've talked about Kirk Cousins on this channel. Let's entertain the thought of Russell Wilson because he hasn't signed an extension in Pittsburgh yet, but I think he will sign an extension in Pittsburgh. Would you go after Russ for 1 year? I wouldn't, but I can see people being intrigued to that idea. But maybe Russell Wilson is somebody that people are going to want to go after. And then basically after these names, you get Daniel Jones and a bunch of dudes I would rather have Jameis Winston over, which is not saying much, right? Because like once we get down to like Carson Wentz, I'd rather have Jameis. Daniel Jones, it's a toss-up between him and Jameis, right? Like Daniel Jones throws a lot of turnover-worthy plays, but not a ton of turnovers. Jameis Winston throws a ton of turnovers, but not a lot of turnover-worthy plays. It's kind of interesting, right? But both of those would probably be below even Justin Fields in my eyes here. I think the reality is clear for Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski this offseason. They're going to have to build a team that is able to win games without a quarterback, because you're just not going to have a great quarterback on this team unless you get exceedingly lucky. But odds are you're going to be hoping for average at best quarterback play from whatever person you have playing the position. That's just where you're at, right? And that's where Kevin and Andrew Berry, their backs are going to be against the wall this whole offseason and during the season, because they're going to be asked to do something that not a lot of people do successfully, which is win games without having an answer at quarterback. It's going to be tough. It's possible. It's been done before. Hell, it's been done by this regime before. They went 11-6 without a quarterback. But that's what they're going to have to be asked to do. That's what they're going to have to figure out this offseason. None of these options scream great to me, right? Even the J.J. McCarthy one, which people are throwing out as like a Hail Mary, and I understand why. I think when you think about that for more than like 10 minutes, it falls apart, because then you ask some questions, and those questions kind of break down that whole scenario to me. This is where the Browns are. This is the hole that Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski have dug themselves out of. And I think 2025 is going to be seeing, hey, if these guys are the guys, right? If Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski are the franchise level head coach GM combo that we hope they are, they should be able to dig themselves out of this hole and get the Browns to a respectable record next year. We'll find out who these dudes are by how they handle this. But they're going to probably get the opportunity to dig themselves out this hole. I look forward to seeing if they're capable of digging themselves out of it and how far they can go if they do. We'll see what happens. But that's what this offseason is going to be about for me. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have a better night. Peace.